Hello, this is Alan Kendall. Should we be invested in stocks or should we be invested in real estate? This is a question that people ask. And it's very interesting that each one has a two-decade run-up. I remember in 99, a friend of mine said, "Wow, stocks have always outperformed real estate." And I laughed and I asked my friend how old he was, and he said he was 22. And I said, well, 20 years ago they were saying the same thing in the early 80s. They were saying that real estate has always outperformed stocks. And we see that they each have 2 decades where they are good, followed by 2 decades where they are mediocre. And here we see in 1965, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was 825. 17 years later, in 1982, we see that the Dow Jones Industrial Average was still at 825. So we had this 17-year sideways market where the Dow could not make any advancement. And the reason for this is that when we have an inflation, we have an inflationary upleg, businesses don't like inflation because higher oil translates to higher transportation costs and higher utility bills. And also higher basic materials like aluminum and steel, those translate to 22% of the budget of manufacturing. And so when those go up, that's a higher cost for businesses. Another thing what happens is that the government raises rates to try and slow down the inflation. And that causes businesses to refinance their long-term debt at higher rates, or their short-term debt at higher rates. Businesses, they have their short-term debt, they have to refinance it every 3 to 5 years. It's not like a home loan that's 30 years. Every 3 to 5 years, the bank reevaluates the company and determines whether they're going to refinance the loan or not. So as the interest rates are going up, as they were going up in the 70s, businesses had to refinance their debt, and well, we see that when the rates went up, we see businesses that when they refinanced their debt, they had to lay off. And so during the 70s, we had unemployment increase. Over here in the 60s was 4%. It went all the way up to 12% at the end of the 70s. And this caused this sideways pattern in the stock market. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at something here, is an inflationary wave. From 62 through 82, we had higher inflation. That favors real estate. In the early 60s, the homes in my area in Lomita, California, they were around 60,000. And back in the early 80s, they were over 300,000. And so a friend of mine bought a home for 60,000 in 1976, and it was appraised for 350,000 in 1981, and he sold it for 450,000 in 83. And so this is the run-up in real estate. Real estate will jump 10 times because of inflation. In the 60s, they took silver out of the coins. In the 70s, they took copper out of the coins. But from 82 through 2002, metals fell. Well, when metals fell and we had deflation from 82 to 2002, in 82 the barrel of oil was 40, in 2002 it was 12, in 82 gold was at 850 an ounce, at 2002 gold was 250 an ounce. During this time we had deflation. Interest rates came down, so businesses refinanced their debt, took out cheap loans, opened plants, restaurants, manufacturing plants, and businesses did well. During that time, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, that up here was 825, it went up to 12,500 under the dot-com bubble, and I think it was 14,500 under the last bubble that we had in 2006, 2007. So we see here that real estate has 2 decades, where they run up, where they go up 10 times in value, followed by stocks that have 2 decades where they go up 10 times value. Now, the moral of the story is that between 2002 and 2022, real estate will outperform stocks. We're going to get another sideways market in the stocks. And real estate, if you look at my other videos, you'll see that real estate here, it goes through a 2-phase advance here. First, you have when interest rates are low, real estate does very well, but then it has this middle period where the stock market and real estate struggle. But then when the foreclosures dry up the middle of next decade, the second half of next decade, 2015 through 2020 through 2022, real estate should go up 4 to 6 times in value. And we really, really want to be in real estate. We just don't want to be in too soon. This is Alan Kendall. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.